Welcome to Pet Business Disruptors. I'm Clayton and I'm here today with Randy Williams and Emma Locke. Guys, give me a short spiel about you.
So I'm Randy Williams. I am the founder and CEO of both WeGroCo as well as Zen Habitats, which is a reptile enclosure and accessory business.
Hi, I am Em, also known online as Emzotic, but what I do here at WeGroCo is I'm the president of WeGroCo, and I also work with Zen Habitats as their director of partnerships.
Awesome. So you guys are what I would consider to be real disruptors in the industry. Like, when one of the big things that when people talk to me that they really don't understand is conceptualities around things like influencer marketing, leveraging the online space. Because I mean, for someone like who's been in the industry as long as I have, it's still like a relatively new concept, but it's become massive. So I know, like you were saying, Randy, before, that like when you think back, like Zen Habitats, the whole concept of it was really built on the power of influencer marketing.
Right. Yeah. So if you want to dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
So when we started Zen Habitats, we started extremely small. It was my wife and I building enclosures in our basement. Realized we need a better model that was easier to scale, easier to ship, easier to produce. And so we did that. So we built out the business and our original design, and that went great. And the way we started our marketing for it was I literally was watching YouTube, but find different creators, people that had, say, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 followers. And I would message them and say, hey, I'm Zen Habitats, new company. Can I just send you an enclosure and you can just say whatever you want about it? And that was my whole thing, right?
Yeah.
No agreements, no nothing. At that time, we didn't even have an affiliate program, nothing. It was just, can I just send you an enclosure and you just talk about it on a video? In any way you want. And we got a great response from that. And so that's when we very, very first started. And that was I think we were way ahead of most. There weren't a lot of competitors in our space, but we were definitely ahead of everybody else in the enclosure space as far as putting it online and sending it to creators using influencers.
Because that's the thing. I think, like, obviously nowadays we live in a world where like people don't really watch TV so much, or like TV advertising. I mean, look, when I was young, like watching TV was like, it was like a social occasion. You know, you'd sit down and it'd be like Dukes of Hazzard, 7 o'clock. Mm-hmm. I had like 2 channels growing up, and it'd be like you're either watching that or you're watching some like Open University crap on the other side. You know, so it was like everyone would watch it, and then you'd get those adverts, and it would, the power of the advertising was massive. But we don't live like that anymore. So actually, then marketing products becomes far more difficult, because like how do you actually find that medium to actually get to your like final destination is the problem. And I think like there's a lot of misconceptions in it. I remember reading this thing about like the Lionel, it was like they called it like the Lionel Messi like marketing thing, where companies were paying, let's say, Lionel Messi a huge amount of money to advertise products, but getting nothing back because you're hitting such a broad scope of people. Whereas like influencer marketing, from my understanding, is about actually niching down and actually finding those niche creators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we were starting, it was looking. I actually think it's easier now than it was back in the past, because the only way to really go after an audience was, how do I advertise on Dukes of Hazzards or on the news? And I really have a niche product, but I'm going after this massive audience who probably only 1% are even interested in what I'm saying. Where now I could go after this creator who their entire content is based around the niche that I'm looking for. So everybody that's there is directly tied to it. Not only that, though, the cost of it, because that person, generally, particularly at the time we started, wasn't used to getting paid for content. They were excited they got something for free. So to be able just to access their platform and their audience was extremely inexpensive. Where trying to put yourself on a TV commercial, you got all your production costs, you got all this thing, and then you got to be on. You've got to pay to be there, and that becomes very expensive. So I think it's much easier to work within the niches now than it was then. And the other thing is you can use social media in this form of like Facebook groups. very targeted groups. I got permission from all of them to post, and we would do these different things there. And the combination of the two just made it extremely easy. And then once more competition came in, they didn't like that as much. Or once we got to a certain size, then they didn't feel like they were supporting the small guy anymore. And then then that changed. But influencer marketing still remained a very strong option for us.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I think also, like, my big thing with influencer marketing is when you're actually selling products which are, let's say, in the pet industry, it lends itself to the pet industry so well because we're such a knowledge heavy industry. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like, if you're selling Coca-Cola, it's easy. It's in a can, it tastes like fucking Coke, and that's kind of it. Whereas when you're selling an enclosure, if you're selling like, a heat mat or whatever you're selling, especially in like the reptile where it gets really, really intense, like the knowledge you can actually get people to convey is so important. And right. To actually understand like what actually people are getting from the product. But I guess that a lot of that is also working with influencers. And like, I mean, for me, it's always like, I mean, people talk about this a lot, but there's nowadays where it's become big, there's a lot people which you would say, they say are grifting. But it's that thing where people are maybe advertising things just for the money, mm-hmm. and they wouldn't actually buy the product themselves. So actually, like finding that axis where people are advertising products they like, giving information that is needed to be given out, like that's kind of where it needs to be at. And I think like that's where you guys have really excelled, right?
I would say so. I mean, I think we found some creators, like you said, that are just in it for whatever cash they can get, and we quickly move away from them. Yeah. They tend not to convert anyways, no. And we tend to focus on people that we feel truly love the reptiles and love the space they're in, and so there's that passion behind them. Because what that does is it brings other people in, right? And in fact, that's how we got M. The way we started working with M was through very similar, if you want to kind of talk about that.
Sure thing. So I actually joined Zen Habitats as an influencer in 2020, just as part of the affiliate program, promoting the products. And very quickly I realized that this was a cut above so many other enclosures that I had come to really dislike for a bunch of different reasons. The sizes were too small, they fall apart, they crack, they break. They're not particularly good for someone like me who tends to move every few years because you can't pack them up and go. Whereas with Zen Habitats, they did have this unique selling point where you can actually collapse them down pretty easily and move them and then erect them in a brand new space, which is just so useful for me. And I saw how my audience were responding to Zen Habitats, and the conversions were great, especially during 2020 because pandemic, everybody was home, everybody was buying a pet, so they had a companion. So it really was sort of a golden era for affiliate marketing. And then Zen invited me to work more full-time with them, developing the program and seeing other ways that we could work in partnership with influencers and with other brands to explore more opportunities. And that's really what has inspired me to stay on with Zen Habitats and eventually into WeGroCo, is that this is a company that is constantly innovating. And a lot of companies within the pet space and other spaces as well will stick to one model and not change, not really innovate. We are constantly innovating, and that makes it super exciting for me, especially as somebody who has quite a unique position where I work as an employee of Zen Habitats. But not only that, I am also an influencer. So I understand the psychology behind most influencers, and it's really wonderful to see how that changes in time. It presents brand new challenges because it's no longer 2020. It's no longer COVID times where affiliates are just happy to receive free product. Now there has to be additional incentive. And we've got all these brand new terms like micro influencers and macro influencers, mega influencers, and to work with them takes a completely new skill every single year or so because it changes. Every single one of those demographics changes. So being able to adapt with that influencer army that you have is so important.
Yeah, I think also you always have a different feeling when you're in the inside, and like that's what I mean. I think like having you do it is amazing because you built your whole like influencer profile based on information, right? On like actually disseminating good information, getting people on board, and like when you actually deal with micro influencers or macro influencers, and that you also understand what it takes to make like the selling of a product like work in reality, because I have seen a number of influencers, like whether it be micro, macro, whatever, do really poor jobs at selling, like putting across USPs for products. Because, and this is why again people get accused of grifting, is because they're like, you don't even really understand the product.
Right.
You don't know what you're talking about. Like, why would I buy this when you wouldn't even buy it yourself? So understanding like the psychology of being an influencer, but then also understanding the psychology of like the company and what they need from the deal is super important.
So I think that's where M came in to be such valuable to us when we started working with her. Was, go back to when I first started, really, it was, I'm just going to send you something in an enclosure. Hopefully you like it. I noticed you have a bearded dragon in a 40-gallon breeder or smaller tank, and let me send you this enclosure and tell me what you think and tell your audience what you think, right? No real background about us. There's no real information about the product. There's really like all the main features of why you should use this product versus everything else. I didn't even get into. It was just do what you want and say what you want, right? And then so as we started working with M, then it was like, we need to be more clear, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, you're right. So here's why Zen is good. Here's why this product works. Here's whichever product, whether it's an enclosure, a cave, or one of our other products. These are the features and the benefits to your animal, and scientifically why we chose this product. The reason we made the decisions we made, so that you can sound intelligent when you're talking to your followers. And it's not just, oh, they made a cave. Isn't that nice? No, that cave was made for a very specific reason, because it's got a real stone on top of it that absorbs the infrared A, B, and C, and as re-releases it and provides natural heat back to the underbellies of the reptiles, right? These are the thoughts that went into it, where if we just sent them a cave and just said, tell us what you think, they'd be like, it was a cave and my thing hid in it and it sat on top of it. Isn't that great? So having M provide more guidance and structure around all of that, which I think became very important to us. I think that there's a big reason we brought her on, is because I was just doing here you go. And just come up with whatever you think. And I think it's really important that they have the information and the reasons and understand the product at a greater level than just take a look at it.
Because there's so many great brands out there, like, and this is in every space, the dog space, the reptile space. And my thing is always that they're underselling themselves because they're not communicating what makes their product so good. But again, it's always difficult as well as a brand, and this is why I think influencer marketing is so important, to actually communicate this in not a salesy way, in an information giving way. And that's the beauty of influencers, is that they have their audience trusts them, and they can actually disseminate that information. And as long as they're on board, like genuinely with the product, it makes the whole process so much easier. And I think that like there's so many companies out there with really great products who are like really missing a trick with what they're doing. And like, do you know what I mean? It's
well, that's why WeGroCo, right?
Exactly. So with WeGroCo, it really was the perfect coming together of Randy and Heidi's expertise in starting a successful pet company, innovating and making sure that there's always something new and exciting for existing and new customers, but also taking our understanding of how to use influencer marketing and really use that to level up your business, and applying that in new and innovative ways into the pet industry. And in many ways, I think of us as kind of the isopods in a bioactive setup, because it really helps everything.
Where's she going with this one?
Yeah, that's right. We're waiting to get eaten. That's it.
No, we're helping to keep the whole universe of the pet industry very, very healthy, because you can have all of your individual components. You've got your influencers and you've got your product and you've got the internet, but how does it all work together? And that's where we come in and we find and identify the ways that influencers and brands can work together in an exciting way that hasn't been really done before, and testing that out, seeing how that works, and finding new ways to improve that. And this helps the businesses to make more money, become more discoverable, but also it helps the influencers not just to make more revenue, but to actually maximize their impact online. Because the average influencer might be great at creating a really special bond between them, very authentic with their audience. But are they good at monetizing? Because most influencers haven't gone to business school, or they are fresh out of college or high school in many situations, and they don't have that real world experience on how to monetize and maximize the impact. That's where we come in.
Yeah. I think, going back to your comment earlier about, just going after any product that's going to pay me and those kind of things. The other thing that we're really focused with WeGroCo is that we try to create long-term relationships between the brands that we're partnered with and the creators that we're partnered with. So we want that to be a longer-term relationship. And I think the easiest explanation of it is, at the time I came up with this example only because I was shopping for a truck. And so it's like, if you have a creator out there that's talking about trucks, and I was seeing them, all of them, and they go, this truck is great, and this truck is great, and this truck is great, and they buy any of these 20 trucks so I can get paid, right? I don't trust anything they're saying because they're giving me every truck, right? Yeah. But if they said, listen, here's the 3 trucks that I really like, and I like, if you're an off-roader, buy this truck, and here's why. If you you need to haul things back and forth, there's this truck. And if you just like trucks but you're a city driver, buy this one. Now I can trust what they're saying because it's much more educational, it's much more informative, and they're really not promoting 20. They're really focused on 1, 2, or 3 that have a reason to be different, but a reason to work for every one of their consumers.
Yeah, and also it's very hard to trust somebody who is just like offering you everything, this sort of, because that's the thing, is that like when we look at influencers, the reason we trust them is because we get to know them and we like almost see them as people we're friends with, like, and that's just how the brain works. And if that person is then saying to you, recommending something to you, you're going to take that person's opinion unless they're continuously offering you different things which conflict. I think like in the UK we have this problem with Stephen Bartlett, so he's a big influencer, but there's been a lot of different conflicting things he's offering. So he offers like Zoe this ring, which is like a health thing, but then he offers Huel, which is then conflicts. And people are now actually calling him out on hypocrisy. And this is the problem, is that it's very important to actually stay true to actually what you believe in, rather than just being like, well, this is a great money spinner for me,
Right. How am I going to get paid this month?
Yeah, exactly. And like, look, long term, you'll always do better. Like if you're true to yourself and you're offering, if you feed your dog on X dog food, and like, look, I have 5 dogs. I feed 3 different types of dog food because they all have different requirements. No, scrap that. I feed 4 different dog foods. But then they all have different supplements. And like, so I could honestly tell you why I feed each of my dogs on a different dog food, different supplements, because one struggles with gut health issues, another one has like, she gets like really sore joints, so I give her a sardine oil. Like my old girl, she had like a bladder stone issue, so I give her a low purine raw food. Like they all get a different product, and if I can like say that honestly to people, then people can actually go, well, like, okay, I get why he's doing it.
Exactly.
But if I'm just saying like this week it's Mr. Fluffy's kibble, and then like a week later I'm saying don't feed kibble, give this, and it's sort of like, whoa.
Yeah, and I think the hard part though is when you talk about the creators getting the money for the flavor of the month cash, right? In some cases, you have to also understand their side of it, which is I've now given up whatever I was doing before. I'm now, no longer in my living situation. I'm in a new living situation. My expenses have gone up, my costs, and I need to pay my bills this month. How am I going to do it? And so there's also that side of the coin. So as much as we're like, we hate that, don't do that. What we need to do is work with them and understand how can you become a full-time creator? How can you create your business in a way that's going to sustain you long term, so that you're not just a fad of the month, but we also have to be cognizant of the fact that sometimes they're panicking and they have bills to pay.
The problem is like, like from a creator's perspective, obviously, because we've worked with my company, we've worked with creators, and the big problem is like affiliate links. People don't always use them, so people will like look at the creators like talking about a product, and then they'll Google the company rather than, and so they won't get any feed through from that.
Right.
And again, this is I guess why you guys like set up WeGroCo is to try and maximize their revenue, because it's so common for people to go, well, I like this, but if I'm buying this product, I don't want to buy it D2C, like from the company. I want to buy it from Amazon, or I want to buy it from Chewy, and I can buy it from those companies, and I also have the state of mind that it's going to be, I'm going to get the customer service as well, but then that doesn't then feed through to the influencer. So the influencer's doing the work, getting the sale, but then not getting rewarded for it.
100%.
It's definitely, from the standpoint of a creator, something that one does battle with quite frequently, is that frustration of, I know I'm putting content out, but is it actually giving me a return? And you mentioned just before, sort of maximizing the revenue for creators. Yes, that is the ultimate goal for us, is to maximize everybody's revenue and to also give value to the customer as well. So we're maximizing the businesses and their relationship with the influencers, and the way that we try to not only maximize, focusing on the maximization of the revenue, but also the maximization of the mindset of the creator and the businesses. Because with the average creator, you are just looking at your bank balance, panicking, as many people do at the end of the month, thinking, where is my next sponsorship going to come from? A lot of these creators are figuring it out as they go, and they don't have the guidance that we try to offer by way of our creator course and the assets that we release on our social media every single week. And just this week, we posted about how to really niche down in your sponsorships so that you can have an authentic relationship with the product and also build your communication, your trust with that brand. And rather than having to pollinate so far and wide, reaching out to 10, 15 companies, hoping someone gives you a sponsorship for the next month, wouldn't it be so nice to actually develop a relationship with just a handful of companies who on a rotation basis you can rely on for reliable sponsorships, and also from the business standpoint, a reliable influencer who is going to post about your product, because not every influencer will do that. So really making these assets that can help the creator grow and guiding them in that way helps them to understand how they can maximize their impact, how they can earn more money, how they can still maintain that authentic relationship with their audience, but also to benefit the brand as well, who's putting more faith in them, who is putting a little bit more in terms of sponsorship behind them, rather than spending one sponsorship on one huge influencer who may or may not make a return for you. Why not distribute that with a couple of influencers who are tried and tested and further that relationship? And that helps everybody.
And I think also, like you said, it's when you actually have that relationship, the content the influencer can get out is so much better.
Yeah.
And that people are magnets for authenticity.
Yes.
And so you will only get that authenticity through like long-term working together, through actually understanding products intensely, So how does WeGroCo work? Like, so let's say I'm a brand, let's say I'm an influencer. How does it work?
Yeah. So I think it's funny, we talk about the fact that we work with influencers, and people are like, okay, that's a Me Too thing right now, right? Everybody's working with influencers. And one of the things that we're doing that's different is one, we're not working with every influencer. We're not just turning on an app, sign up, put in your info, we'll connect you with companies, and it's all just done electronically through this app. And those are great apps, and people have great businesses and they're doing amazing things. But what we're doing is really focusing on the individual creator and the individual brands. So that's that we're becoming a little more niche in that way, and we're pet centric only, right? We're really focusing on the area that we know, because I think we can be more effective talking about reptile brands and dog brands, because we have all the dogs here, and cats and birds and all these different things. We understand that space much more than we do, say, karate gear and lipstick, right?
But also the pet space is uniquely different to nearly every space, because it's uniquely emotional. It's uniquely like knowledge based, far more so than most other things. And also, when we buy ourselves a can of Monster out of the shop, we know it's not good for us, But when we buy something for our dogs, there's a very different metric there. And so it's understanding the metrics of like balancing the dogs in, let's say, if I'm buying something for the dog, the dog enjoys it, but then also, is it good? Is there a function to it? There's so many more layers, I think, to the pet industry than other industries.
100%, right? And that's, we want to maintain that. Like, we want to maintain the fact that we need to be authentic to the brands. We need to be cognizant of what's good for the animals, right? Because that's very important. What's good to the owners. Those are all extremely important to us. So we won't just take on any brand, because sometimes we look at a brand and we go, not quite where we want it to be, right? We challenge the brands we do work with to make sure that it fits the standards that we feel is appropriate for the species. So all that's taken into account. You asked a minute ago, like, how do we work with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me kind of answer that. From a creator side, we are trying to do multiple different things. One, we have our existing creators that we already work with the brands that we partner with, and we offer them one-on-one consultations and the ability to work with us and call us up and say, I'm just having a brain freeze. It may not even be about our brand.
Yeah.
I just don't even know what content to make right now, right? Yeah. And we'll help them deep dive into their content. So there's different things that Em does there. Maybe explain that just for a minute, and then I'll get into some of the other stuff.
Sure thing. So we have, over time, built really wonderful creator relationships. And so we know these creators very, very intimately in terms of their business, in terms of their audiences, the type of content they like to create. And that puts us in a great place to say, hey, we have our affiliate creator hotline. Clayton, if you're having a bad time with brain freeze, your creative juices are not flowing, or you're feeling burnt out, give us a call. We'll help you to figure out how to structure this upcoming sponsorship. Or you're having difficulty chasing down a payment. I've had difficulty with that too. Let me teach you a thing or two about how you can go about this in a good and friendly way. So we do that, and we help them to sort of manage their campaigns and structure them, and they are so wonderfully receptive to that. And of course, in doing this, we help the creator, but we learn a lot more about who is a reliable creator, who can we trust, putting in touch with other brands who are looking for a creator of their caliber, a creator who is cognizant of wanting to do the best job possible, has a really engaged audience, and who is interested in approaching their brand professionally. It's not just a hobby. It's not just something they film once in a blue moon. This is something they're actually creating a career from. Some are going on to make their own companies and their own products. So these are creators we know are reliable, and we nurture them through snippets from our creator course, where we teach pet influencers how to avoid the pitfalls of working for unscrupulous companies, or how to actually come back from miscommunication online, where maybe they've been cancelled for just a really basic misunderstanding, or helping them to understand where they go next. They've made their first paycheck as an influencer. Well, what's next? We can show you the next step and guide you with that. And then from a brand's point of view, we do the same thing with brands, where brands will approach us and tell us a bit about the struggles that they're having, where they're looking to break into a new market. Maybe they're moving from the UK to the USA. Well, we're actually working with a brand right now, helping them to navigate a brand new market that they don't necessarily understand, but they want to have the best chance of success. Well, we've got the influencers who want to represent their brand. We know they're reliable, and that's how we make those connections.
Yeah, so I think, from the creator side, we're really getting to know them. We're offering them courses and different things and other opportunities to learn. So that allows us to build really that stronger relationship with them and understand who they are and what kind of content they like to build and where they'd be good fit for our brands. From the brand side of it, we really want to understand their profile and who they want to work with, and then we try to marry those two together. And so we do it in a traditional way, where in this particular case, it's so really learning our creators is different than I think most other places. But the connection of just setting up sponsorships, I think is pretty standard, not a big deal there. But there is one area where you talk about just people changing the game or doing something different or thinking different, and that's where we're in beta right now with 3 different stores. We're creating branded creator stores, right? So you have your creator that you're following. You love this person, and instead of them saying click this affiliate link, and we just had that conversation earlier, right? Click this affiliate link, go to my affiliate, and go to the website, make this purchase, and I'll get my 10%.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if they did it on their phone and they clicked the affiliate link on their phone and they really liked it, and like that was great. But most people, when they go to a higher dollar purchase, for example, for a Zen Habitat, it's a $300 purchase, so or more, right? Now they want to go to their computer because they want to see the bigger pictures. They want to get more of the detail. Well, you broke the link because the link was on your phone, but the purchase is on your computer. The creator doesn't get credit for that.
Yeah.
So that's one way to break the link. The links are only good for 30 days. So on day 32, you make the purchase. They don't get paid for that. The link is only good if you enable cookies. And if you disable cookies, that's no longer a thing. So as a creator, I say, hey, click my link below, and I'm praying that all these different things don't happen in order for me to get credit. Okay, so there's all of that. So the way we fixed it was, and then there's one other thing. I'm a creator. I represent 12 different brands, and I'm telling you to go shopping on 12 different sites.
Yeah.
Right? You're bound to get lost in the journey of purchasing 12 different sites, and it's also annoying. And so what we've done for these creators is said, listen, let's take all the brands you want to work with, let's reach out to those brands and get them to agree to do a drop shipping program with you. So everything is now going to live on your website, your store. And so what happens now is, as the creator says, hey, instead of clicking this link to go there and this link to go there, go to, in M's case, Emzotic.com. And here's the brands that I love to work with. And their products are on my site. And I'm going to tell you right now why I love them. But when you get to the site, I'm going to tell you again why I love them. And then when you get to the product, I'm going to tell you again why I love that specific product. And I'm building that trust. And then when they make that purchase, it doesn't matter if they did it on their initially started on their cell phone and then went to their computer. It doesn't matter it's day 32. It doesn't matter that they blocked cookies. All of those transactions are going to flow through MStore and go to those brands. We match the pricing and the service levels of those brands, but we provide the customer service. We manage the website. We manage the entire process, the buying journey. Another advantage for M, though, is that she also now has, if they signed up for email and SMS, she can now communicate with them outside of the socials. So, social media, you only see a post goes out, only 10 to 20% of the audience sees it. Right, of your followers. People said, I want this content, and then the social media company said only 10 to 20% of you will actually see it. And it's a weird thing. Like, you would think, I want to see your content. Why shouldn't I see all of your content? But I don't. Right. So now what we do is we move M to give her this ability to sell back to those followers and customers at any time through email and SMS and direct communication. So that's what's really in for it for the creators. For the brands, what's in for it is they now know they have a dedicated creator that's not going to just flip to sell the next truck, or sell the next enclosure, or sell the next gecko diet, or sell the next dog food, right? Oh, a new month, new brand, right? They're not doing that because now they have an e-commerce store, and that e-commerce store we're trying to build out long-term, success. And so they're going to reinforce the brands they have those relationships with, and the brands actually see that as more valuable because you're doing that, and they pay a higher commission, significantly higher commission. We're able to get, basically on average, we've been doubling commissions, a little bit more than doubling commissions for our creators by doing this. Now, the proof will be in the pudding. We have a couple stores set up. One's fully set up. One is partially launched, and the third one's launching very soon. And then once we kind of get those rolling for 2, 3, 4 months, we're going to have some solid data to say, okay, converted at a higher rate, paid out at a higher rate, more beneficial to the followers, more beneficial to the brand, more beneficial to the creator, and then it's gonna we'll push it much further beyond that.
Yeah, I love this because like the thing is for me is like the key thing is that if you are like people love their influencers, they love the creators they follow, and if you have a chance to buy your dog food directly from your creator and know that they're getting a cut directly, why wouldn't you buy from them rather than Petco, Chewy, whoever else?
Yeah.
And like it's not costing you any extra, and you know that you're also helping them do what they do, and it's
when you're buying from a Petco or a Chewy or any of these brands or other retailers, the brands themselves get beat up so bad, right? I mean, it's just people don't understand the abuse that you take as a manufacturer selling into one of these ecosystems, and it's tough, right?
No, I do it like
right, yeah. So like we both have the look of despair and smile on our faces as we talk about it, but it's real. Like you really do get beat up pretty bad. They would much rather work with the creator where the creator creates the marketing, drives the marketing. They're actually not competing on, click on Google ads against each other. The creator's creating the marketing, fresh marketing that's not only going to support my brand, but brings the sales right to their channel. And it's a win, right? Yeah. If you're going to Chewy and PetSmart, I mean, we did it one time. For Zen, we were on one of them, and we said, listen, you can't have a different price than what we offer our own customers. And they said, no problem, Randy, we got you. And then they ran ads against us that weekend where they offered, X percentage off any orders over X dollars, and they showed our product. So when people were typing in Zen Habitats, right? Yeah. And there we would be, but right above it was an ad for all this money off. It was basically all of our marketing was driving their sales. And then we took a beating on it, right?
Because the problem is that I've had the same thing but they get around it by saying, no, this is generalized.
Right.
It's not your product.
Right.
But the problem is like it does affect you. And like, and look,
when they show our product's picture, it definitely affects us. Yeah.
But it's like, okay, my biggest pet hate is Amazon. Like, and because they do not create the market at all. They just siphon some off the top. So people will like, you'll promote the product, you'll get out, you'll show people, blah, blah, blah. And like your influencers will be there and people will end up on Amazon. Amazon get the commission and they do nothing for it. It's just the convenience aspect. And I kind of feel that like some are better than others, but like there's a lot of big corporate stores who do something similar. I mean, I actually quite like Chewy. I think Chewy are probably one of the best in the space. Like that's my personal, but they do that thing where they'll do the whole, $10 off a $100 order, and you're like, okay, you've just like literally killed my MAP pricing.
But and they run an ad against your product's name.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we're not doing it against your product, it's against the whole store. And you're like, yeah, but you ran the ad against my product. Yeah. So when people type in my product trying to go to my website to buy it from me, you ran the ad and offered them a discount, a general discount, and that really messes me up.
That's naughty, man. That's really naughty.
And so when you have a creator though, the creator's not running any ads. Yeah. They're out there making ads for you.
But you pulled out of the big corporates.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. We were losing so much money. It was horrific. Yeah. It's like, well, make up for it on volume. No, you won't. I guess you can. But we, for our product, we have a very razor thin margin.
Yeah.
And so because it's an expensive product, it's a big product, it's expensive to ship, it's expensive to manufacture, and we're trying to be, price sensitive to our consumers, we don't have a ton of margin for Zen Habitats. So for them to eat up all of our margin and then run ads against us and then make us pay all these rebates and everything else that they do, we were just losing money. And we had to hire, at the time, we had 3 extra staff members to support it. So not only were we losing money, we were paying, a lot of extra salary to manage it. And we were like, what are we doing? It was just killing us, right?
It's like, it's busy fools mentality, isn't it? Like, it's that revenue. Like some people just chase revenue. Like, but you're better off sometimes halving your revenue and actually making money,
Right. we had to come to that realization.
Yeah. I think, but there's like that natural push. Everyone has that natural push, like revenue.
Yeah.
But actually, the reality is,
part of it is that everybody tells you that's what you're supposed to do, and you're like, well, they can't all be wrong. And then it's funny every time I watch Shark Tank, and they're like, don't go to retail, right? And you're like, why didn't I listen? So there's that part of it. But there's also a little ego. Right? Yeah. Hey, if I can double my business, I can tell people that my business grew from this to that, and I doubled it in a year, and da-da-da-da-da. And it sounds really interesting and strong, and it makes you a great business, even though you're losing money. Nobody sees that side of it. They don't see the loans that you're taking on and the gray hairs that you're getting. They just go, oh, wow, look how fast they're growing. But if you're growing at a loss, it's not great growth.
It's very interesting hearing this from the business perspective. Yeah. But it also happens from the creator's perspective as well. Because going back to what you just said, Randy, about ego, at one point, I was an affiliate for, I believe, 20 to 25 companies. And when we started to conceptualize WeGroCo, I went back to those companies just asking the bare minimum, what were my sales in this time period? And out of that 20 to 25, only 3 or 4 could tell me, oh, we do have that data, which told me that some of these huge companies, absolutely mammoth companies in the pet space, may not have been paying me commission for a year or 2 because they couldn't track that back to me. I would far rather now, as a creator, having been in the game for 7-8 years, I would rather commit to 3 or 4 really good companies than 20 or 30 of the really big companies, because I'm going to make substantially more building on the trust with the companies who believe in me, even if they're minuscule compared to the big fish in the industry.
So that's another great point of why these creator stores matter. Yeah. We can give her every piece of information. We can tell you what page people landed on. We can tell you what converted, what didn't convert. We can tell you all kinds of great information. You know exactly what you sold to exactly who you sold it, and you know exactly how much money you made per transaction, and you know what questions are coming to customer service. Well, I'm getting a lot of questions about this particular brand, right? Oh, maybe I need to make content, right? Now I'm a creator. Oh, I know exactly the questions that people are asking because I have a report that tells me these things, and now I can make content addressing that specific question, and bam, just drove my engagement and more traffic to my site to make more money.
Well, I think this comes down to as well is that creators aren't business people, and it's very easy to get like lost in the weeds of I need to make money. Like they're offering me affiliates, like let's just do it. Mm-hmm. But then you're not really like it's not part of your natural psyche to be able to go, right, what is worthwhile, what isn't worthwhile. I mean, I was like one of the worst. I still do it now, but like not so much now. But I used to always, if somebody offered me work, I'd do it. Yeah. And then you just end up like insanely busy. Like people pay you like, like you wouldn't even talk about the price. You'd just be like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, and I used to do a lot of consulting years ago. I really tapered it off like recent years, but it would just be like, we'll talk about the price. Let me just get this work done for you. And then like they'd mess me around paying me, or like they'd pay me poorly, or like I just forget that I'd done it, like because you're on to the next thing continuously, rather than actually going, right, this is what I need to make per day doing this. This is the outcomes that they can expect to achieve from me, and actually like properly managing it as a product. Because like, again, you as somebody who works within that space, you disregard your own time sometimes. And I can be very good at business development, but I'm terrible at personal branding. So it's like my whole personal branding thing would go out the window. I never ask anyone for referrals. I never ask anyone for like, because I've worked for some massive companies, like they've brought me in to consult. I've given them all the value. And then they're like, thanks very much. And I'm like, yeah, cheers, see you later. Oh, I'm off doing this over here. And that's a little bit of my own sort of like mindset. But I think influencers have the same problem, is that it's so you're kind of wanting to make the money, but you're making the content, and that's what you're good at. You're good at talking, you're good at connecting, but you're not necessarily good at like saying, is this worthwhile? Why am I doing this? and actually giving influencers that structure where they can actually make money.
So that structure piece, right? So that's really where I think we're coming in and changing things, right? So one, again, going back to, we're getting to know the creators. So we have a sense of who's reliable, who's going to be in this for the long term. We have a much better sense of who these people are because we get to know them. And so once we have that sense, then we can say to them, listen, we're going to help you build this business, but you don't have to understand Google Analytics. You don't have to understand conversion rates in the same way that we do. Like, you have to understand them basically, but you don't have to understand customer service and return policies and shipping policies and local taxes and all of this stuff that you don't even have to understand how to open a website. Like, we'll take care of that for you, and we're going to manage the contract and relationship with the brand. So what they get to say is, okay, I'm going to have a different setup that's going to benefit me long-term with brands that want me long-term, that are going to pay me more money and consistently pay me. And I get to build a better relationship with my audience, and I have more information that I can reach out to these customers. Somebody bought a dog collar from me, and now I have a dog vitamin company that I'm going to recommend. I know how to target those exact customers again because we have a CRM system that manages all that for them, right? These are things that a creator just, what are you talking about, right? This would take years for that knowledge to build. We come to the table with that knowledge, and we can help them do through all of that, right? And we manage that whole process for them. The other advantage, and I just said it, was, we build the relationship with the brands as well. And the contract with the brand is actually with WeGroCo.
Yeah.
And so what the advantage for them is, not only do you get the creator that you came to the table with, as we add more creators, you have the option, if the creator and the brand want to work together, we will connect them as well. And it's really simple through our ecosystem. It's very easy to do. Like, it's literally just turn it on. But we won't automatically, and this is again why it's not an app. It's not automatically that your products are on every creator's site, and it's not automatically that every creator has to carry your product. It has to, again, be a mutually agreeable thing, that where the brand sees value in that creator, and that creator matches that brand, and that creator loves that product, and they really believe it's going to be beneficial for their followers. So that's some of the things that we're also doing. So really taking that business side of it, to your point, and managing that. And that just goes back, I think, to our original conversation around WeGroCo, which was, as we sat here and we were looking at, the pandemic did great things for our business, but then it also devastated our business, right? And we had to kind of fight through it. And we said, what are we good at? And we had this big conversation around, what are we good at? What do we know? Well, we're good at influencers and creators. We have multiple of them on our team. So we have multiple creators that you would know that actually work directly for us in different capacities. We have 3 different people in 3 different capacities that do an amazing job for us. And their knowledge and their expertise always helps us as we build out things. And then it was but we also know how to do customer service. We're really good. I feel like we have an amazing customer service team. We're really good at websites and social media marketing. Like, our social media account compared to other brands in our space, it's 5x, 10x, 15,
But that's the benefit of working with influencers, though.
Right,
because you understand what people like.
100%.
And I see brands all the time with the most rubbish, rubbish on their...
Yeah.
And, I think working with them, because you obviously built that knowledge base, working with people, who are influencers, you soon understand what works and what doesn't, and why people get traction. So it's working that brand.
It's very common. I'll come to the table, and this happens weekly because we have a weekly marketing meeting for Zen, for example. I'll come to the table and I'll say, hey, I like this idea. And they'll go, okay, but we're going to do it this way. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to my idea? We're no longer doing my idea. Because no, Randy, right? And they give a much better, right? But that needs to happen. So working with different creators, bringing in people that's specifically their skill set to run our marketing team and understand it. Our marketing team is really creators and people that grew up with social media. That's our team. So I think we do extremely well there. So as a part of WeGroCo, we can actually help other brands. And we're already starting to help other brands do all of their marketing. And they're like, we were here on our social media and suddenly we're here. And it's been a very short time. We have a brand that we brought on 4 months ago, and we have
12x, I believe.
It in 4 months. Their followers, their engagement is more than 12x. Some of their, a couple of our posts for them have gone fairly viral, not massive viral, but way more than they ever saw. Like there's different things that we're doing because everybody on our team's creators. Like we're not everybody, but a lot of them are.
Because the funny thing is that like you see so many of these like social media creator companies, and like people work with them, they pay them a lot of money. But the pet space is so phenomenally different to a lot of these things that because you actually have pet creators, you understand where the hit points are, and like whereas I'll see, let's say, I won't name names, but there's a brand of pet stores in the UK hired a social media team, not cheap, absolute garbage, like producing rubbish that like nobody is ever going to want to watch, you know.
Our goal originally was not to get into social media for other brands.
Yeah.
That was not our goal.
Right.
We were doing this whole e-commerce thing, and as I was talking to another brand, they said, you know what you guys are really good at? And could you do this for us? And we were like, should we do this for someone else? I mean, no, like that became a real big conversation in the building, because then it's like, okay, how much are we going to take away from our existing social media to do somebody else's social media? Who do we have to bring on board to now do this for these other brands and stuff? And ultimately we were like, in the situation where we're doing not just the social media, but we're also going to be managing the e-commerce store for them. We're going to be managing their influencer program. We're going to be doing all of these other things. It makes a ton of sense for us to do it. If it was a one-off, I'd say no.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. What were you going to say?
And if you think about the challenges of just say the average small pet business, it's usually people, from my experience, who, all right, they've got this great product. You want it to get seen. But in order to get your product seen, you kind of have to be an influencer now, and that does mean sharing your product on various social medias. So yes, we do have somebody on our team, our director of marketing, who is just such a champion, so intelligent, so good at structuring our campaigns. But where we've differed is that we haven't just pulled people onto the team who are college educated. We want people who spend lots of time scrolling social media, knowing the trends, seeing what sticks out to them, and then applying that to the pet business.
I was sitting at my desk yesterday, and all of a sudden I got a phone shoved in my face, like basically right at the bottom of my desk. And they were like, I think she said, watch my boss, or babysit my boss, or something. And I'm like, what are we doing? And she left. And I'm like, hi. And then I just went back to work. Like I didn't know what the heck was going on, right? But there's no way and apparently this is a trend, right? You know, so talking about people that understand that I'm not on TikTok. I would never see that trend, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know why we did it, but okay, we did it. But they all love it. And they were all having a good time laughing at me about it. But we'll do different things like that. And it's important to have, you know, as you're talking about just being a brand in social media, it's important to have really good relationships with people that are creative. And you don't have to hire existing creators. There are a lot of people that want to be on social media and that want to be creators, but don't have the comfort to go out there and do it themselves. You can bring them into your company. You can build a brand and have them. So we have, somebody on our team that not before we dealt with the influencers, we were working with all of them, but we needed an animal care manager, but we specifically hired her to also, because she was knowledgeable with pet animals and the reptiles, that's what we were hiring for, take care of all the 20-something reptiles we have here. Also share your knowledge with our followers. That is really like when we started building out our own internal team. That was like, I think, our first big hire in that space. And then since then, it's like, oh, that really is a smart idea. Right. And so now we bring in people that are creators that have a ton of knowledge and experience of not only about the animals, but about creating. And now they represent our organization. And it's awesome.
It's awesome as well, because now we can also, in our marketing meetings for these brands who trust us to help them reach more people and who we have these individual contracts with, they now also benefit from the expertise of our very pet-centric, very social media user-heavy employees who just love this. You have to really love being a creator to drive sales. You have to love working with creators in order to spend any budget or sponsor them or set up an affiliate program. But if you all work together, it creates this perfect storm of opportunity. And if your creators are happy, you are making sales. And if you are making sales, your creators are doubly happy, and it just snowballs from there.
They love that they get a paycheck in addition to whatever affiliate stuff they're doing outside of here.
Yeah.
I think it helps them avoid burnout because they're so many creators are just by themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now they're all in here interacting, and even if they're not physically here, we have half of our team does not exist in this office. We have a web system and everything that, video cameras for our teleconferences calls. And everybody ends up on the television here, and the creativity that comes out of those meetings is incredible. And I think it really helps us as we try to think differently. Going back to how you're different, is we're taking the business mind, the traditional business mind, which I come from background of Fortune 500 company and blah blah blah, right? Taking that knowledge and that experience and then combining it with marketing as it exists today, not marketing as it existed 20 years ago.
And I say this all the time. This is like one of my favorite sayings. Is I always used to say, I ran the same business for more than 20 years, and you might think I must have started when I was 5, but actually
you did. I'm sure.
Yeah.
26, 27.
yeah, no, right. But I always used to say, if I'm selling the same things in 10 years' time, I don't have a business anymore. Things continuously move. Mm-hmm. And if you're not already looking 5 years in the future and trying to predict the way things have to go, I remember I brought in an orderable online website for my business in 2006, 2007. And people were like, who wants to order their wholesale pet supplies online? It was now it seems ridiculous that people would say that, but right. If you don't continuously do that and build out what you're doing. I was selling dried chicken feet in the late 90s, and people were like, who would want to buy chicken feet for their mm-hmm. dogs? And sort of go, well, they're full of glucosamine, they but again, it's you're looking at the current trends and you're mm-hmm. saying, where can we push this all the time? And that's what I love about what you're doing. I'm a massive supporter of it, because I think this is the way it has to go, because marketing now is so hard. If mm-hmm. you're a small brand starting out, you've got a great product, how do you get it out there? You either have to go through a crazy distribution range, you either have to get mauled by a big corporate, how do you get that stuff out there? And even then, it's how do you communicate effectively? Let's say you've got, a product, let's say pumpkin powder, for example, has become a big product.
Yeah.
And it's become a big product because of influencers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're talking about, the fiber aspect, the prebiotic aspect. But if you want to, you've come up with a product and it really hits the mark, it really has a clear USP, mm-hmm. how do you get that out there? And I think this is the way you do it. But then you also need to work with people in a very structured way, because, if you're working with an influencer, like you said, they can be unreliable, they can be hard to deal with, they could already have way more on than they can cope with.
Right.
And so it's actually removing that stress from the influencers, focusing their mind on what's important, and mm-hmm. When they produce content, they're going to make money from it.
Yeah.
And it's going to really help the brand. So I love it. I absolutely love the conceptuality.
So go with your theory about 5 years from now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Not even 5 years from now. It's already starting to happen. So if I'm a brand, I come out with a brand new, I'm going to make sweaters for penguins. Okay?
Yes.
It's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
I gotta.
I've been looking for them, actually.
Yeah.
I would be your number one customer.
So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to create these sweaters for penguins, and I'm going to create a website for it, and I'm going to have my products. But nobody's going to find me, right? So I go different, pay-per-click ads, whatever. But really, one of the ways I can really be found, and very inexpensively, is through SEO, right? Google SEO, search engine optimization. Yeah. Okay, so how do I get on there? Well, I need people to link to me. I need people to find me for doing something other than sweaters for penguins, right? Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 15 amazing articles about how to care for a penguin. When is it too hot for a penguin? When is it too cold? How much activity to give them? I'm going to write all these different articles. And now people are looking for those answers. And then that's pushing up my sweaters for penguins, right? So SEO is massively important. And if you've been in business at all since the internet came out, That's the thing you optimize for, right?
Yeah.
Is be on the first page of Google, be in the first position of Google. First position, you get 20% of the clicks. 10th position, you get like 2% of the clicks. Past that, you're done. You're not even worth it anymore. And so, okay, what do we have happening right now in the revolution of the world? AI.
Mm-hmm.
So AI is now summarizing articles. So I wrote an article about proper diet for penguins in captivity. Okay. And so you type in, I have a pet penguin. What do I feed it? And normally you would have seen my article on page 1, or like first position or first 3 positions. Now AI is going to say, let me just tell you, right? Google is summarizing already. Microsoft is summarizing already, Microsoft Edge and Google. According to reports, the proper way to care for your penguin is blah, 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 blah. You never make it to my article because AI is there. So when you're going, okay, that just took away one of my major marketing tools, right? So if we know AI is going to do that within search engine optimization, Google's going to figure out ways to make it work for the brands, but reality is all of our brands. We already know our brand content is on AI because AI had a wrong answer on something. We wrote an article to fix the answer, and within 3 weeks, the answer was corrected on AI, and they referenced our article. If we said, what's your source? And they used our article as source. That's already happening. You don't have to go to our website anymore. I can't pick up your traffic anymore. I can't expose you to my sweaters for penguins anymore. However, if I'm working with creators, and everybody's still on their social media, that's where I have to tap into. So if I'm looking any year, a year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years down the road, I have to understand search engine optimization is not going to work in the way it does today. And if I don't have creators and I don't work with creators and I don't have another voice and another outlet to bring people to my site, I'm in trouble.
And that's the thing, is people forget how quickly things change.
Yeah.
And that change is like suddenly, like I say, you go from getting 100 clicks a day to nothing.
Instantly. Oh, the algorithm changes and you're done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They said, well, listen, we don't like people having penguins as pets. And suddenly I'm delisted from Google.
Yeah.
And no one would ever find me.
Yeah.
Right? So I have to have my creators.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, and like I say, for creators, it's got so hard, I think, for them to make money, because again, like, I think there's like things like TikTok, they promote anything. Like the algorithm's very different to, let's say, an Instagram algorithm, and so just talking about certain subjects suddenly like stops creators from coming up. So for creators, it's harder as well. So I think like actually marrying that together is so important.
And then if you take TikTok and you look at what they're doing, which is still in its infancy, still having issues, still a ton of challenges for businesses, but don't mistake it, it's going to work, which is TikTok Shop.
Yeah.
And so not just TikTok Shop, Instagram has to do it, Facebook has to do it, everybody has to do it. YouTube's, they all have some version of it now, but it's not perfected.
Yeah.
They're all clunky,
Yeah.
and they all don't work great. 3 years from now, they're going to work great. So you lost your SEO to AI.
Yeah.
Right? And now you're gonna lose web traffic directly to your site because people are gonna buy directly off the socials if they can.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you don't have a good influencer campaign, you're sort of in trouble. Like, you have to be able to figure out how to navigate that world. And creators are the way to go. People nowadays don't watch TV channels the way it shows the way they used to. It's all social media.
It is, and that presents so many challenges, not only for the businesses, but you'd think that TikTok Shop is wonderful for creators. It's gonna have its uses, but I personally fear for many influencers in the sense that many businesses, they'll put aside X amount of product to have listed on TikTok Shop, but you as a creator, if you get sent something for free, the overall idea from other brands is, well, I've got 20 influencers on TikTok working for me for free. I don't have to put budget behind anything. But what some of these brands may not understand is that this is fast content. It's there 1 second, gone literally 2 seconds later when someone swipes. Does it convert to sales? Maybe for a small viral swimsuit or dress. But for enclosures or pet foods, that is very different because you still have to work at building that trust because you are servicing the person's love for their pet. And that's where the long form influencers will have their resurgence, because people who are on TikTok have very small attention spans. It doesn't convert.
Well, I think it converts. TikTok shop, like in my opinion, this is my opinion. It converts for products that need minimal explanation.
Correct.
So, like, if I'm selling a crate of 24 cans of Coca-Cola and I'm selling it cheap, it's going to convert. If I'm selling maybe a dog treat and it's, let's say, a run-of-the-mill dog treat everyone buys already, let's say it's a bag of chicken feet, a kilo of chicken feet, or like, what would you call it, 2.2 pounds of chicken feet, and it's a good price, it's like $10 delivered. People can go, I use them, buy it, no problem, because chicken feet are chicken feet. But like when you actually start then going down, let's say, more complex avenues, TikTok is not the one. And I don't think it will be the one, but I think it will definitely take a certain market. But again, this is why influencers need to be organized, because it's going to be so easy for them to go down poor rabbit holes where they're not going to make any money.
Correct. It has its place for discoverability, but for conversions, that's where we come in handy, because we can help those creators understand where they will actually drive conversions.
Our top, so first off, let me just say, we keep saying TikTok, but really what we mean is short form, which is any, right? It's Instagram, it's YouTube, it's whoever wants to come out next with the next short form platform. It's all of them. It's quick. I was listening to a podcast last week. All the algorithms are trying to decide what you want to watch. You are not making that choice. Conversions are going to be extremely low because it's just trying to see if I even want Coke, or do I like coffee, or do I want pet content, right? It's the algorithm's trying to serve it up. Where long form is valuable is that people search. Right? What's the best dog food for my husky? Like what type of blank should I get for the right whatever, right? What type of bird cage should I have for my parakeet? When they're making those they're actively looking for answers. And that's where you still see extremely high conversions. So YouTube and blogs for us, for our businesses right now, and particularly as we talk about, and I say mostly for the Zen Habitats, the enclosure side, that's where we get all of our conversions. We don't get it from short form. Short form is good for people to see us. The number of people that tell me like, oh, I thought you guys were way bigger company than like, I'll go to a reptile show and they're like, you own Zen? Like, why are you here? And I'm like, because I own the business and I need to be here. And they're like, I thought you guys were big. No, we just have a good marketing team that makes it look like we're really big. But so that's where short form is really good. It gets a lot of eyes on you, but it doesn't capture the sale. But you have to know how to navigate that, and you have to understand. Okay, now when they go to the long form and they're making that search of what enclosure should I get for my bearded dragon, and they see Zen Habitats come up 3 times, and they see a few other brands on there, but they've seen Zen Habitats 100 times on short form. They're like, oh no, I've seen that brand a lot. I'm going to go watch that video and then I'm going to make that purchase.
So I watched this thing and it was basically talking about the 7 points. You need to see things in 7 different locations before you then actually convert. Most sales conversions aren't like, I see it, I buy. It's, I see it here, I see it here, I see it here, I see it here. Then it's like, okay, now I'm comfortable with the concept of this brand.
I feel like that, going back to where I said I've worked in corporate corporate businesses, Fortune 500 companies, and I feel like that's been around a very long time. I wonder if it's still true. I wonder if 7 is really the number anymore. Because it's not like if you see 7 TV commercials, you kind of got a sense that this is a company that's around, right? But if you see 7 TikToks, I don't know that you necessarily have faith.
But it's also about then also like there's that other metric, which is the emotional, logical,
100%.
urgency logic, and you can produce that in a longer form content. Whereas actually hitting all of those marks in short form is really difficult because
you can hit one, but not all of them.
Exactly, yeah. Which is why it works for something like Coca-Cola, because emotionally and logically you go, well, I drink that shit. yeah, I want that shit, and it's like, oh, it's cheap. That's the
Yeah.
urgency.
Yeah.
I'm all in. Whereas, let's say we have something like a reptile enclosure, you need to be convinced logically. You need to be like, then you need to go, oh yeah, like my animal's gonna love this, and then you go, well, it's on. You know, maybe I can get it cheaper today.
It's funny you talk about the logical and the emotional. In my head, I tend to be facts and things like that. So our first marketing around our product was like, this is why you buy it, right? Here's the facts, right? Here's what your bearded dragon needs, and this thing does it.
Yeah.
And then, every year or so we come back and look at it, and as we bring on more and more creative people that are not the facts and numbers and things, and they're in tune with what's right, but not necessarily in the way that I'm in tune with the facts of it. They're in tune with what's emotionally right.
Yes.
Right? I need all of these things because of these emotional reasons, right? And so we've actually taken that and go, okay, and less of the facts and more of the emotion, but the emotion tied to the facts, right?
I think the trouble is with facts is they get boring.
Very boring, yeah.
And like most people, when you think about it, we do like crazy illogical stuff all the time, like which are just based around how we feel about things. So the emotional, actually, you only need. I think the barrier for logical is actually lower than the barrier for emotional. Like that's my own feeling, is that like once you've got across the point that it makes sense, then it's an emotional decision. And I think like I do think that's, and again, this is why like I think for a lot of companies they struggle because they don't put across they either go too far in the logical direction or too far in the emotional direction, depending on what type of people they are. And you do need that balance all the time. The people have got to be, okay, logically, this dog food, for example, it's my dog's got like a sensitive stomach, it's got prebiotics, it's got a small amount of probiotics, it's high meat, it's good quality, blah, blah, blah. But then it's sort of like, then you've got to hit the emotional side of it, like they love the taste of it, the smell so good, and like
make them 3 years younger just by giving them the right nutrition and see that energy level come back up, and you see the joy in your dog's face again, that kind of stuff. Right?
You're giving it to like someone's giving it to a dog, and the dog's like loving it and doing like tricks and like. Once you're convinced on the logical, you're done. That's done. Like we can put that away now, and then we move on to the emotional side. And I find people tend to be one side or the other. So you get something which is all about, oh my God, he's so happy, he loves it so much. But then they're like, there's no facts behind it, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, I like McDonald's, But
good for us.
Yeah, exactly right. Or it's just sort of like, it's sort of like. Like some guy in glasses coming out going, this is good because blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yeah, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it's like, this is why you need a combination of people for any kind of marketing, because you do need to balance that whole equation continuously.
Absolutely. And I just want to thank you for opening up such an amazing conversation. I hope that people really gathered a ton from it. But as with most entrepreneurs, Randy, unfortunately, does have to scoot off to his next appointment. So do you have any final thoughts that you would like to pick his brain about before we let him go?
Oh, I think this has been amazing, Randy. I really appreciate this. Just let people know how they can get in touch with WeGroCo, like as a brand, as an influencer. Because obviously I fully support you guys. I mean, I've come all the way to Hull, Massachusetts, just to see you guys, because I love what you're doing. I love the conceptuality of it, and I think like this is a real big thing, like for me. I love it, and I just want to see you guys succeed, because it's so good for it's really door opening for like smaller brands, but also for influencers, so that everybody can get what they need out of it. But
I mean, we still have a long way to go before we're really making a big change in the industry, but I think we're taking the first few steps in the right direction. And I think us getting going back to just the beginning, right, getting to know our creators, providing them the tools they need to be successful, understanding who they are as people and what their values are, and then finding brands that we love and have great values as well, and are great for the consumers, great for the animals, great for the influencers as well, easy to work with, and then just marrying the two together in a way that I think is different from what everybody else is currently doing. Again, it's not just an app where you just click, click, click and go, okay, now represent these 3 companies, or, oh, I just picked up 100 influencers last night. It's not that. It's that personal connection and really building that long-term, relationship and focus on long-term growth. And I think that that's going to have a huge impact as we go. And again, going back to that 5-year conversation, looking down the path 5 years, as we move to more and more short form, as we move to more and more AI, having these relationships where people can actually see it and it's authentic and it's genuine and it feels right, that's where I think we're going to play, like in that space. So, I mean, listen, I appreciate you coming out here all the way to Hull, Massachusetts. Hopefully you enjoyed the views out there today.
It's definitely nicer than Hull in England, that's for sure.
That's very true.
It's not high bar.
I don't know any people in England. They call our restaurants all the time, and they're really nice people. It's a true story. I'll have to explain to you sometime. But yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate you coming out here, and it's definitely been a fun and interesting conversation. And if you ever want to do it again, let us know.
Yeah, man, lovely.
Oh, you asked where people can find us.
Yeah.
So WeGroCo.com. So it's WeGroCo.com is our website. So grow without the W. And then our enclosure business is ZenHabitats.com. We sell our enclosures in the U.S. directly, and we have partners in Canada and the U.K. So we have a Canadian site and a U.K. site as well.
Awesome. Any closing thoughts?
Feel free to also follow us on our Instagram, which is at WeGroCo, and then you can just watch us as we grow.
Go. Right. Guys, awesome. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Thank you.